Hello and welcome to Casual Learning. I'm your host, John Bannan. What's the deal with loyalty? Now, it's surprising, really, that there are so many disloyal people in our society. And it seems as if they've never had instruction on what loyalty actually is because they show so little of it. So that's what this video is about. Loyalty is a strong feeling of support or allegiance. Loyalty is a moral good. That's what I think a lot of people don't understand about loyalty. Uh, Loyalty is an issue of morality. It's an issue of good versus evil. It's not, I don't know, just some sort of practice people may or may not engage in at their option. No, it's actually a moral issue. And I think that lesson is lost on our secular society. Um, Unfortunately, our secular society does not seem to value loyalty anymore. The acts of disloyalty in our secular society is a legion. And since it is an issue of morality, it's a clear indication that our secular society is immoral and is behaving very, very evilly when it comes to the issue of loyalty. Now, loyalty is a moral good that is established by Christianity. So, the teachings of Jesus in the Gospels point out loyalty as a great moral good. And the converse is that disloyalty is a great sin. Uh, our secular society seems to have forgotten that. And the probable reason for that is that there are a lot more atheists and agnostics and non believers, non Christians in our society. So, one of the takeaways that you should have from this video is if you're dealing with somebody who does not exhibit loyalty, in fact, exhibits disloyalty, you are not dealing with a true Christian. You are not dealing with a moral person. You are dealing with an immoral person, a bad person, and an evil person. And you better stay away from that person before you get seriously harmed by them. All right, so what is disloyalty? Disloyalty is an abandonment without moral justification. In fact, disloyalty is one of the seven deadly sins in Roman Catholicism. Disloyalty, it falls under the deadly sin of greed. So disloyalty is an aspect of greed. Disloyalty, deliberate betrayal, and treason is the sin, the deadly sin of greed, especially when done for personal gain or when compensated. So that's how it works into the greed aspect. Because you got to ask yourself, why are you being disloyal? And oftentimes the answer is it's for personal gain, which is greed. And it may even be monetary gain. So Christianity considers disloyalty a deadly sin of greed. Now, if you don't believe me, I'll go through some of the provisions in the Gospels which demonstrate that disloyalty is a terrible sin. So, for example, um, in the Gospel of John, Jesus was talking about one of his teachings where he said, uh, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life within you. And after hearing this, some of his disciples left him. They withdrew and were not walking with him anymore. And Jesus said to the 12 apostles, you don't want to go away also, do you? And that's at John chapter 6, verses 66 to 67. So here Jesus is giving his followers a difficult teaching. A lot of them simply reject Jesus and leave. They were disloyal. And Jesus was asking the 12 apostles, well, are you going to remain loyal? Another example from the Gospels are um, there's the famous betrayal of Jesus by Judas Iscariot, which led to Jesus' death. Betrayal is an act of disloyalty. In fact, Jesus said, woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been good for that man if he had not been born. That's Matthew chapter 26, verse 24. So clearly, Jesus considers betrayal a very, very serious sin. There was also in the Gospels the denial of Jesus by Peter 3 times uh, before Jesus' crucifixion. Jesus told him, I tell you, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. That's at John chapter 13, verse 38. And famously, while Jesus was hanging on the cross, he even said about the ninth hour, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? So here, Jesus himself is asking God why God abandoned him to his death on the cross. So again, this idea of abandonment, disloyalty is an extremely bad sin. Uh, and that is at Matthew chapter 27, verse 46. Now, God, obviously, God didn't sin against Jesus. God can't sin. It's impossible for God because sin is not doing God's will. So whatever God's will is by definition good. So God did not sin against Jesus by putting him on the cross. But Jesus is making the point of, this abandonment is a very serious issue. So the point of all this is that in Christianity, disloyalty is a very grievous sin. And you should understand that and learn to be loyal, not disloyal, and try not to associate with disloyal people. Again, in Christianity, for example, in the Gospel of John, it said that no one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. That's at John chapter 15, verse 13. So in that instance, loyalty to one's friends, even to death, is considered an act of love. That's an act of loyalty. So an act of love is an act of loyalty. Again, disloyalty is very sinful. And again, Jesus says, whoever denies me before men, I will also deny him before my Father who is in heaven. That's at Matthew chapter 10, verse 33. So Jesus is putting it out there. He's saying, if you're not loyal to me, I'm not going to be loyal to you. So if you deny me to men, I'm going to deny you to my Father, and you're not getting into heaven. So it doesn't get really more serious than that. Disloyalty is a very, very grievous sin. Now, there are many examples of disloyalty in our secular society. And understand that that's exactly what they are. They're terrible sins that people are committing. And don't join in them with these sins, and understand that you've got to stay away from these people and these sorts of sins. And these are often done by atheists, agnostics, non believers, fake Christians, because you can't demonstrate that sort of terrible disloyalty and pretend to be a Christian. You're not. You're a faker. That's what you are. So remember, disloyalty is an abandonment without moral justification. Examples of that would include things like divorce. That's an abandonment of one's spouse without moral justification. Separation from one's spouse. It's the same thing. Um, Workplace dislocations and relocations. And just because something occurs in the workplace or in a business environment does not mean you get off the hook uh, um, in terms of Christianity and moral behavior in God. God doesn't let you off the hook or look the other way because you did something bad or sinful in a work environment or because of it's only business, right? God doesn't recognize that exception. You can be disloyal to your children or to your parents. People don't take care of their kids or don't associate with their kids, or they're living one place and their kids are living someplace else. The same thing with their parents. They may um, abandon their parents. You can be disloyal to the church or to God or to Christianity or to the teachings of Jesus. That's a disloyalty as well. It's very sinful. Um, In our society, many secularists and atheists and non-believers and fake Christians, they jump from relationship to relationship for purposes of what they believe is success or goal achievement. So a lot of these people will be vocational relationship builders, salespeople, ladder climbers, uh, ship jumpers to get ahead. And they go from one relationship to the next relationship, a better relationship for them. It's all about expanding relationships. Well, there's a lot of disloyalty that can occur if you have that mindset. Um, if you're jumping to one relationship, you're leaving another one behind. And you may have acted disloyalty to that other relationship uh, and have committed a terrible sin against that person and against God. So be very careful of being a ladder climber or a ship jumper. Be very, very careful. Vocational relationship building, while very useful and powerful technique in terms of climbing the ladder and obtaining goals, you risk being disloyal to a lot of people and committing a lot of terrible sins. So I wouldn't suggest vocational relationship building. I would suggest being loyal to people. first and foremost. All right. Well, uh, because loyalty, or I should say disloyalty, is such a terrible sin. It's a deadly, grievous sin. It really is. It's probably one of the worst. Betrayal is probably the worst sin there is. When you run across a disloyal person or a person who doesn't exhibit loyalty, you're really running across one of the worst people that you can imagine. Uh, it's a big warning sign to you to stay away from this person. This is not a moral person. It's an immoral person. It's an evil person. And the longer you stay around this person, the far more likely you are to get burned, um, or have that sort of disloyalty exhibited against you. So stay away from disloyal people. On the other hand, you find loyal people. That's a great person. That person is really showing or exhibiting Christian behavior. You may want to really hang on to that person or hang in that sort of relationship for a long time, because loyalty is a great sign that you're dealing with a morally good person. Disloyalty is a great sign that you're dealing with an evil person and you need to get away from them. Okay, so what are some aspects of loyalty, or how does one uh, teach or learn to be loyal? Well, there's some aspects of loyalty that you could look at. The first is supportive. A loyal person will reach out to you when you need them. They support you. The second is communicative. Communicative, a loyal person communicates the truth to you. They are open and honest. They are not manipulative. They don't do things behind your back without telling you when these things impact you. They're not secretive. Um, they're open and honest. They look you in the eye and they tell you the truth. They don't manipulate. So if you're dealing with one of these people who beats around the bush or just can't tell you something, but they act behind your back, even if they think it's for your own betterment, that sort of secretive behavior is not loyal. It's disloyal. A loyal person tells you the straight truth, gives you straight talk, and looks you in the eye and tells you things that you need to know. They're not secretive. Three, a loyal person is respectful. A loyal person will be respectful of you away from your presence. So when you're not around, they're not stabbing you in the back or doing things or manipulating you behind your back. Um, they will not. spread gossip, for instance. They're respectful of people. Okay, a fourth aspect of loyalty is trustworthiness. A loyal person will share their honest opinion, even if it's not always what you want to hear. Sometimes they will want to share their experience with you, hoping that it will give you insight and help you follow your best path. Um, Trustworthy people keep their promises. They don't give you false impressions. They don't try to trick you into doing things or manipulate you into doing things. Um, they, it's somebody who has your back. It's a trustworthy person. Another aspect of loyalty is sincerity. A loyal person shows that they care and that they are supportive. These aren't passive aggressive types who pretend to care for you, but they really don't. They're being passive aggressive and they're really just trying to undermine you or get rid of you or whatever. So um, they're sincere. They really want what's best for you, and they're willing to be open and honest with you about that. Finally, loyal people also show integrity. A loyal person does what is morally right and properly cares for themselves and others around them. And if they make a mistake, they apologize, and you'll find that they generally won't repeat it. So they live by moral principles, um, and they recognize their mistakes and they do better. So um, those six things are aspects of loyalty. Uh, and nobody's perfect, but certainly there is a great deal of disloyalty in our secular society, caused by people who simply don't have morals. They're not Christians. Watch out for them. They're a larger growing segment of our society, and you need to be loyal if you want to be a real Christian. If you are a theist, you believe in God, you believe that Jesus was the Son of God, or you subscribe to any of the other Judeo Christian religions, loyalty is a very important moral good. And it's under attack by our secular society. In our society, our atheistic society or our secular society rewards disloyalty, especially in the business world. And that's morally wrong. And you've got to understand that. And don't just get sucked into what these evil business people, for instance, are doing, because that's the path to hell. Yeah, they may be making a lot of money or climbing the ladder or having some sort of material success, but they are sinning terribly. Disloyalty is a terrible sin. Don't follow that path. And understand that when you see somebody who is loyal, you're seeing uh, a morally good person. So recognize that. And if you need to improve your loyalty, here's how you can do it. You can practice these things. So uh, I hope you learned something and take care.